Well, good evening. I am glad to be with you tonight. My name is Kathy Escobar, and I'm with the Refuge, which is a Christian community and mission center in Broomfield, and honored to be part of the Multifaith Leadership Forum. This is my 7th year being involved in this group, and the MFLF is a network of faith leaders from the Denver metro area who are committed to building relationships of understanding and support across all faith traditions and to being a voice and resource for multi-faith engagement in Denver. And it is an honor to be alongside such a mixed and rich tradition of leaders who really, truly care about a change in the world. And so this Tuesday night prayer for unity came out of the reality of the global pandemic, putting all of our worlds upside down in so many ways, but also in different ways drawing us together. And that has always been at the heart of the work. And we know that sitting around tables together, learning from each other, listening, honoring our differences and celebrating those and finding our common ground is what really will heal the world. And then also now here we are, and this has been part of the Tuesday night prayer night, is just the reality of core important, world-changing, everything moving in the world related to anti-racism work. And that has been going on for many, many years, but something we know is converging in a really powerful way. And we really need each other for it. And it's stirred up so many big feelings for so many of us, and we're kind of all trying to find our way. And so this is an anchor point to come together, to gather hope, to just for that little break from everything going on and kind of notice how we can participate in change. So tonight I wanted to start just briefly on lament, and that, we could spend all year 24/7. Really, there's so much to lament. And in all of our faith traditions, we do that in different ways. On the whole, though, it's a tricky art. And the busyness of life, the desire to move to action, the realities of life, sometimes we just don't dial in and feel some of the big feelings of grief that we need to. We can't tonight, but I wanted to just have us have a little moment of just noticing some of the things that we're lamenting. And some of this came from a liturgy that we did in the Broomfield area. That's where the Refuge is. And across faith communities up there, we got together several weeks ago for a gathering that was beyond heartbreak. What does beyond heartbreak look like? And so this is just a small piece of it, but I want to start with this. And this is in Psalm 61. It's adapted, but in there it says, "Hear our cry, O God. Listen to our prayer. From the ends of the earth, we'll call to you. We call as our hearts grow faint. Lead us to the rock that is higher than I." So right now, we're lamenting the deep divisions in our nation, our cities, our groups and communities, our hearts. For grief upon grief in our nation and the world. For ongoing systemic injustice, for the brokenness we've contributed to, for politics above people, for the ways our faith communities have become insulated bubbles, for the powerlessness we've felt that guarded us from participating in change, for the way our privilege has protected us and harmed countless others, for our silence when we should have spoken, for our inaction when we should have acted, for our desire for comfort while Black daughters and sons are dying, for grief upon grief in our nation, in the world. And so I just wanted to have us just pause for a moment and just think in the quiet of our hearts what we're lamenting tonight. I'm just going to give a brief moment of silence. It's good just to honor it. And then also know that grief and action can go together. They're not mutually exclusive. And I feel like that's a huge piece of our work together across all of our differences, is that common desire. And it's a beautiful thing for love and justice and mercy in our city, in Denver, across Denver, and not just here, but beyond that in the world. And for me, my stream is the Christian tradition. And the reason why I am still a follower of Jesus after many years of up and down and all kinds of changes in my faith stream, the core for me are these words from Jesus in the Beatitudes. And the path of descent down into real life problems and pain and upside down, contrary to the ways of the world, are really core. And so I'm just going to read them and knowing that we're all coming from different perspectives, but there's something about the power of these ways that I think are really important for the current situation that we find ourselves in together. And he says this: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." So I've been thinking a lot about how we respond as leaders in all of our unique ways, because we all have different roles. And how could we live out the fruit of the lament? So all the stuff that stirred up, like how can we move that into a new place? And I was thinking about these three things, and I wish we could kind of talk about it for the sake of prayer tonight. I'd like us to ponder them and to listen to maybe what stirs up in our soul. And the first is that we would be humble learners. And for the most part, and especially me as a white, privileged, married woman who lives in the suburbs with a master's degree, my privilege is through the roof. And it's a lot easier for me to speak than listen. And so a piece, I think, for us as leaders, how could we humble ourselves? More ears and less mouth is something we talk about a lot at the Refuge, a simple principle, but it's hard. It takes humility. And that somehow we could bend our knee and listen in a new way to our brothers and sisters who are crying out and have not been heard. And that we have so much to listen to that will form us and move us, and we won't if we're talking all the time. And so humility is core. And for me, that is really the path of the Beatitudes. But the next one, and I know that we're all want to do this, but there's a cost to doing it. And that is that we would be system disrupting leaders. And so that means the boat must be rocked. It must be rocked. To get to a new place, the boat must be rocked. And that is going to come at a cost. And so my heart for all of us is that we would be really intentional about becoming system disrupting leaders and be brave and to take the hit and to do the things that are really going to make other people feel very uncomfortable. All of our systems in different ways across our faiths. The systems, a lot of them, the status quo, got there for a reason. There's embedded in so many. In my faith tradition is the lie of white supremacy. But just in general, it's just a path of power and ascent, and not a path of down and love and humility and true justice. And so becoming system disrupting leaders, we're really going to need to be humble and be open and strap in because there's a cost that's going to need to be paid. And then the last one is just that we would be embodied healers. I think about this a lot because in my faith tradition, in the early years of my faith, everything was about head and knowledge. So the more what you knew mattered. And I really believe for true change in the healing that we want to see in the world, we have got to get out of our heads. Our heads are what got us into trouble. And that means that we need to get into our hands and our feet and our guts and our soul and our eyes and our ears and embody physically something different. And the world needs healing, so embodied healers. And so healing, let's all face it, anything healing is hard. There's a path of resistance to healing. And so my heart and my prayer for all of us is that somehow in this season, and I'm so grateful for so many of you who are, that I know that even though I've been doing this work for 20 plus years now, I have a responsibility to keep growing in these three areas. And that it's really easy to just kind of get in the grind and maybe learn a few new things, attend a few new things, and, gather some. This is really, truly about becoming humble learners, system disrupting leaders, and embodied healers. And so I want to close with this. And a piece of my story that is a really hard part of this certain stream is that our family lost our youngest son this past fall to suicide. And it has been devastating on so many levels. I have 5 children, and so I have 4 living children now. And so we're trying to find our way. And one of the ways I've found my way is hooking in to the good that's happening in Denver. And people who know pain and can lament, and people who can move towards change and embody healing. But my son was a wise human, and he had a few sayings that he said, and 2 came to mind as I think about this. And one was, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the other one he said a lot was, every basement has stairs. And so I've really been thinking about that for all of us, is that there is path. There is path. And with God's help, with each other's help, we really can live in this discomfort and change can really happen. So that's my prayer for tonight. And I'm going to close with just something really simple. And I hope for all of us that we will gather strength and we'll keep going, and we will be comfortable being uncomfortable, and we'll keep walking up the stairs. So healer, creator, lover of all people, restorer of broken places, help us become humble learners. Help us listen instead of speak. Turn our hearts of stone to hearts of flesh. Move us in deep places of our hearts. Help us be system disrupting leaders. Stand for what is right despite the cost. Lead with courage to bring health to broken systems. Rock the status quo on behalf of equality, and stay in for the long haul of change. And lastly, may we be embodied healers, people of presence, holders of grace, catalysts for transformation, out of our heads and into our hands, feet, guts, in tangible ways. Amen. So to close tonight, part of our work, and I'm so grateful for the COVID-19 Fund, that Mosaic Multicultural Foundation, and so many other ways that people have been generous in this season. But in the spirit of really supporting the movement in Denver, specifically related to Black activists who are doing this really system disrupting work and need our support, that tonight I'm just hoping that we'll consider making a donation to Soul Sisters. And they are fiercely faith-based, Black women-led racial justice organization focused on Black healing and liberation. They do amazing work, and some of us here in the room have benefited from so much of their work. So with that, I'm grateful to be here tonight and to be with my friends and with all of you, and God, hear our prayers.